Hi, my name is Rebecca and welcome to my channel. I have got to tell you, I'm getting ready to leave work, and so if you've wondered why my video intros and outros have been taped in weird spots and in the car, I have been on the go. I work 40 hours a week as an activity program and events director at the Medical Legislature Show, and we are in our very, very busy season. And so I just run. I run here and I run there, and we have so many things going on. And so I'm just having to do things at weird times and in weird places, and so I'm sorry, y'all, this is as good as it gets. So I just wanted to hop on and say, I hope that you're having a really great week and everything is going really fabulous in your life and you're having a great Tuesday. So I have a very quick craft that I'm going to show you. I enjoyed it so much, and it is another fall and football craft. It's the last fall and football craft that I'm going to show you, so please be patient. If you are not into football, I'm sorry, but football is life. I mean, we're so into football, but I decorate with fall and football. That has been my theme over the years, and so I always do one or two new things every year. This year I did a couple of new things, and so I thought I would show you. And one of the new things was the Dollar Tree football wreath that they have, the wreath form. And I have seen several people craft with that and do some different things with that. But I thought maybe if I put a different spin on it, and if I covered it and I did something to make it look a little bit more high-end, that it would fit in with my decor a little bit better. I also wanted to do something that could be versatile for indoors or outdoors. I made two of them because I'm going to put mine outdoors. I have two fences that I have on either side of my house, and when they sided the house, we left those fences in place because I thought that they gave the house a little bit of character, and they were original to the house. I thought they were really cute. They also serve a purpose. One hides the air conditioner from the view from the street. The other one hides the trash cans. And so they're just matching cute little fences, and I like to decorate them. And so I decided that I needed something new to put on my little fences, and so that's what I came up with for this idea. So come craft with me. Let me show you what I did. I have been eyeballing this football wreath form that they had at the Dollar Tree, and I thought it was so cute. I also bought 3 rolls of this burlap ribbon at Walmart. They had it on clearance in fall colors for $2.50 to $3.50 a roll. I am going to use some Spanish moss, and then I picked up a bunch of leaf foliage at the Dollar Tree and a sunflower pick, and I also got a roll of berry picks and some berry garland at the Dollar Tree. And I started out just covering the football wreath form with the burlap ribbon, and I just hot glued around the edges and started kind of forming it to the wreath form. I don't know why I didn't put my finger protectors on. I just kind of like to live dangerously and kind of fill my project and try not to burn myself. But I just thought I would put a little dab of hot glue around the edges and lay the edges of the burlap ribbon to the wreath form to kind of cover this up kind of as uniformly as I possibly could. And you could actually probably accomplish this with just a piece of burlap fabric, but I had the ribbon, so I thought that I would go ahead and use that. I like to craft with what I have. on hand, and so I just tucked the ribbon in around the wreath form as neatly as I possibly could, and then I just secured it with some hot glue. I did use some Gorilla hot glue with this project because I did plan on putting this outdoors. I have found that the Gorilla hot glue works really well outdoors, and it has a better hold in under the elements. So I just finished kind of laying it kind of around and overlap the sides a little bit, and finished putting the ribbon around the outside perimeter of the football wreath form. I know a lot of people do not have good luck with hot glue outside, but we have had some really warm days, some 90 to 80 degree days, and it has held up very well with this Gorilla hot glue. So I really haven't had, you can see our little dog Bruiser in the over to the side. She's having her lunch while I'm crafting there. So she's kind of underneath my feet a lot when I'm crafting, and sometimes you can see like the tablecloth move in weird directions, and she's kind of always right there underfoot and kind of always curious to see what I'm doing. And she's a busybody. She's a Chiweenie, and she's always kind of up in everybody's business. She's our little precious bundle of joy. Once I had the perimeter covered, then I just kind of tucked it in a little bit, and I just put a little bit of hot glue in the middle, and then I just kind of tucked it in. And then I just took one of the kind of the burlap ribbon, and then I just decided to kind of cover up where the middle part was, if that makes any sense. I kind of ramble, and some things are just a little bit difficult to explain. But I wanted a nice even surface on my football, and I wanted everything covered up very nicely, and I wanted it to look like maybe it was supposed to be that way. And I wanted all the lines of the burlap to be even. So then I just took one kind of piece of burlap, and then I just put it over the top so that it would have a nice finished look on the top. If you don't have ribbon, or if you're doing this with a piece of just regular fabric or burlap, then you wouldn't have to do all of the different angles and everything that I did. So I'm just here just to show you what I did and to give you some inspiration to maybe craft your own. So you don't have to always copy what I do. You can just kind of get some inspiration and go from there and create and craft and just be happy crafting and just kind of create. So I did put some hot glue around the edges so that there wouldn't be a lot of bulk, but you know, it is burlap ribbon, so there are going to be some holes, and so I didn't want to put a lot of hot glue because I didn't want that to kind of show through. Once I had all of my edges finished out nice and everything was a lot more smooth, then it was time to take my fall foliage and just kind of put some in at this side. And so I just took a little dab of hot glue and I just secured that on. And I just took my little wire cutters and I snipped off just a little bit of foliage. I don't put a lot of florals in my pieces because when you do that, it just costs a lot of money, and I have found that you just don't need a lot to make a big impact, and you can just kind of spread things out. I have bought this little sunflower stem at the Dollar Tree, and I just clipped one of the heads off. Sunflowers, you get a lot of bang for your buck when you use sunflowers, and so I just clipped one of the heads off, and I just hot glued that in. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like florals, but it does cost a lot of money if you go over the top, and so I just try to keep things simple and I try to keep things cost effective but still look nice at the same time. I had actually gone to the Dollar Tree looking for some white shoelaces, they did not have any in stock. So I had this white yarn twine in my stash, and so I just threaded that with a darning needle, and I just went through the underneath side, and I decided to make my football laces out of this white yarn twine. I'm really not even sure what it is. It's just something that I had laying around. If you could find the white shoelaces, then that would make a bigger impact. But, you know, if you can't find what you're looking for, then you can always use something different and just, you know, make do with what you've got. And I just went from side to side and made a nice little line on my football wreath form from the underneath side, and I made sure that I did a couple of little lines there, and I pulled that through so that it was nice and even and tight on the underneath side. And it would actually, I did do two because I wanted it to show through, and then I just went up to the top and made my line, and then I just did my laces through the burlap and my darning needle, and I just kind of like you were sewing, but did my laces, and then I went back up through and then down through and kind of did that. And then I went ahead, after I did a double row there, I did go ahead and I tied that off after I did my first initial kind of a big eye. I was afraid that if I went ahead and did all of my little laces in one big session and didn't go ahead and tie that off, that everything was going to get tangled and knotted and would just look a big jumbled up mess on the underneath side. So that's why I just went ahead and tied that off initially, and then made sure I had a nice cut and everything was positioned the way I wanted it to be. And then I just rethreaded my needle and went back up through my football wreath form and made a knot on the underneath side and continued making my laces. I get my Spanish moss at the Dollar Tree, and so I just took a little bit of Spanish moss and I just tucked that in underneath my leaves and my sunflower to kind of hide where the hot glue was kind of positioning everything and give it a more finished look. And so I just tucked it where it needed to be. It also makes it look a little bit more natural and a little bit more high-end, and it gives it just a really nice look. I like to work with Spanish moss. You'll see that in a lot of my crafts, and I kind of like to hide. It hides a multitude of sins, let me tell you. And so if you just tuck that in, then you don't see a lot of problems. It is really hard sometimes to actually explain what it is that I'm doing and have it make sense, because I know what I'm doing, but when I go to explain it, it turns into a chaotic, jumbled up mess of words, and it makes absolutely no sense. And I know you can see what I'm doing, but it turns into a big O mess of words. But I just went back up through the football. The burlap does make it really easy to position the darning needle, and then I just did a little loop and I tried to make it as even as I could. It is kind of difficult because you are working around the bones of the wreath form, but I did go through there's kind of a ridge in the wreath form, and I did make sure I did cross over that so that I would have some stability and keep my yarn, my twine, together where I had, tied it. And then I just tied those loops all together really nice and tight, and I did make a double knot in this so that nothing would come loose, because if I put this outside, I knew it would be exposed to the wind and the rain and all that good stuff, and then I just clipped that off. Now I'm a Chiefs fan, so I'm going to use the red and the yellow, and I'm going to just cross my ribbon in a big, kind of a floppy bow. And I'm going to put one big loop and kind of hold it together and then cut it to make a nice tail. And then I'm going to take my yellow, and while I'm holding it with one hand, I don't know why I didn't just chip clip that, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing and kind of use what I've gathered together in my red to gauge the size that I need for my yellow. And then I'm going to make another big loop and cut the tail off, and that's going to be my bow. You can customize this to whatever high school, college, NFL team that you want. The Chiefs colors are actually really good for fall colors, so that works out well in my favor. And then I'm just going to tie it off really good and tight, give it some good tight twist in the center with a pipe cleaner. And once I have it good and tight, then I'm just going to fluff up my tails and my two big bow loops. And making a bow is really not all that complicated. I'm going to take the ends of my pipe cleaners and I'm going to run it down through the burlap bow, and I'm going to try to find a cross section in the burlap or the wreath form, and that is what I'm going to tie the bow to make sure that it does not come loose. Once I had twisted my chenille stem around the cross section of the wreath form, then I just clipped that off. I thought it needed something a little in the center, so I took the berry pick that I had purchased at the Dollar Tree, and I just clipped a couple off, and I just hot glued that right down into the center of the bow, just to give my bow a little bit of that fall look, and just to kind of zhuzh it up just a little bit. Not necessary, just, just for something that was a little bit fun on that side of the football wreath. And so I took this berry garland that I had purchased at the Dollar Tree, and I love their berry garland. It is so fun to work with. And so I just took a little bit and I positioned it where I thought it needed to go in kind of a little pattern where it was kind of creeping over the football, and I took some florist wire and I bound that really good and tight to the top of the football wreath form and made sure it was in there really good and tight. And then I just made sure that it was kind of staggered all over my football wreath, and where I wanted it to clip down, I just took a little bit of florist wire and just kind of pinned it down and made sure it was tightened over the cross section of the football wreath form. I kind of wanted it to look like the berry garland was just kind of a vine that was kind of just growing along the football. And there I have the two of the football wreaths that I have done. You can hang these inside. They look very pretty as wall decor, and it's just, I thought it was a high-end look to a football wreath form if you decorate with fall and football. But I chose to put mine out of doors, and there they are on my little fence post. I think they're adorable. So that's my fall and football. I hope that you enjoyed that. If you're into football, if you're not into football, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell so that you know when I've uploaded my next video. Give me a thumbs up because my next video is not going to be fall and football. I am into fall crafting 100%, and I have a few things up my sleeve that are actually really kind of cute and don't have anything to do with football. Imagine that. So y'all have a great week. I'll see you on Friday with a new video, and happy crafting.